The first sign something was wrong was not the applause. It was the way my coworkers stopped smiling before the clapping even ended. Miles' heart raised his champagne flute and beamed at the cameras like he had invented gratitude. "Tonight we celebrate Ava Reed," he said, voice echoing through the ballroom of Stellan Ridge Supply. "She stabilized our operations, protected our contracts, and helped us recover from a year that should have sunk us." Polite applause rolled through the room. Executives clapped like they were following an instruction manual. The warehouse directors clapped like they were tired, but relieved. My team clapped with the sort of loyalty you earn by taking midnight calls and fixing disasters without blaming anyone. I stood near the back, half hidden behind a pillar, because I had never loved spotlights. I loved functioning systems. The giant screen behind Miles showed our turnaround metrics in gleaming gold numbers. Every single data point was tied to a process I rebuilt and a dashboard I created, often while someone above me insisted details were not strategic. Miles waited for the clapping to settle, then leaned closer to the microphone. "And now that we are stable," he continued, "we need leadership that understands the vision I have carried since I was a kid, sweeping floors in my father's warehouse. That is why I am proud to announce our new Director of Operations, effective immediately." A pause. A practiced smile. Ben Caldwell. The room erupted in louder applause. It was not joy, it was reflex. People clap when they are told the future has arrived. Ben walked onto the small stage in a crisp suit that looked brand new, because it was. He waved like a man greeting fans. I did not clap. I stared at Miles, trying to understand how the sentence could be real. Director of Operations was the role Miles had promised me after I saved the company. Ben had started working here 1 week ago. He was also, as I learned on day 2, Miles' friend from childhood. The kind of friend you call when you want loyalty, not competence. The screen shifted to a slide titled, "From Breakdown to Breakthrough." It showed charts climbing like victory flags. My name appeared nowhere on the slide deck, just the numbers, floating like they rose by magic. I felt a warm hand brush my elbow. It was Carla Simmons, our shipping lead, eyes sharp. "That should be you up there," she whispered. I kept my expression calm and said, "Thank you." Carla frowned. "Ava, do not do that humble thing. You kept this place alive." Behind her, Owen Park from Inventory Control nodded once, slow and heavy, like a judge confirming a verdict. Maya Green, one of my analysts, mouthed the word ridiculous. Miles finished his speech about vision and legacy and leadership. Then he stepped away from the microphone and drifted toward the exit, slipping out during the applause like a man escaping consequences. I followed. His office door was cracked open. Inside, he had already removed his jacket and poured himself bourbon from a crystal decanter. He looked satisfied, like he had just won something. "Oh, Ava," he said warmly when he saw me. "Big night. You should be proud. You delivered exactly what we needed." I stepped inside and shut the door. "You told me if I hit the turnaround targets, the operations role was mine," I said. Miles took a sip. "You did hit them. Exceptional work. But leadership requires the right chemistry. Ben understands me. We grew up together. That matters. It matters more than the person who rebuilt your entire operation," I asked, keeping my voice even. Miles gave me a sympathetic look, the kind managers practice in mirrors. "Do not take it personally. I am taking care of you." He opened a drawer and slid an envelope across the desk. Inside was a gift card. $100 to a luxury spa. "Take a day," Miles said. "You earned it." For a moment I just stared at it, as if it might turn into an apology if I waited long enough. I slid the card into my bag. "Thank you," I said, because I did not want him to hear anger. Anger would make this about my feelings. I wanted it about his decision. Miles smiled, relieved. "Great. See, we are good." We were not good. Not because of the gift card, because the next morning he would fire me, and he would do it right after assigning Ben full control of the workload that I had quietly been carrying for 3 people. And that was when my coworkers stopped clapping and started choosing sides. The next morning, I arrived early, like always. My team was already there. Maya had a coffee in one hand and her phone in the other, thumb hovering over a message she looked ready to send into the sun. "Do not," I said softly. She looked up. "Ava, he gave your job to his childhood buddy." "I know," I said. "Let me handle it." Carla leaned over the cubicle wall and whispered, "Ben just asked me what a bill of lading is." Owen snorted from his desk. He pronounced it like a sandwich. I almost laughed, but my stomach was tight. Humor is easier when you are not watching your work get handed to someone who cannot spell it. At 9:10 a.m., my calendar pinged. "Quick check-in, Miles Hart. Location, executive office." Maya stood. "Want me to come?" "No," I said. "But stay close. Keep your phone ready." I walked upstairs, past framed photos of Miles shaking hands with people who had never run a warehouse shift in their lives. In his office, Miles sat behind his desk with Ben standing beside him, smiling like he had already redecorated my life. "Ava," Miles began, "congratulations again. Last night was important." "Thank you," I said. Miles clasped his hands like he was about to give a motivational speech. "Ben will be stepping into the Director of Operations role, as you heard. Effective immediately, you will report to him." Ben waved, cheerful. "Hey, Ava. Excited to collaborate." I held my expression neutral. "Understood." Miles continued, and his tone shifted slightly, like a blade sliding out of a sleeve. "Also, after reviewing our organizational needs, we have decided to eliminate your position." I blinked once. "Eliminate?" "Yes," Miles said. "We are streamlining. The turnaround is complete. We are moving into a new phase." Ben nodded as if he understood what phase meant. Miles slid a folder across the desk. "Termination paperwork. Effective today." It was so clean it was almost funny. He toasted me at night and fired me in the morning. I opened the folder without rushing. I read each page like I had all the time in the world. Ben shifted his weight. Miles checked his phone once. Finally, Miles said, "Ava, we appreciate everything you did. You will receive 2 weeks severance. Standard." I looked up. 2 weeks. Miles smiled tightly. "It is generous." I closed the folder. "I will not be signing this," I said. Ben frowned. "Uh, you have to." "No," I said. "I do not." Miles leaned back. "Ava, do not make this difficult." I kept my voice calm. "You gave my role to someone who started a week ago. You fired the person who built the system that keeps your facilities running. You did it after praising me in public, and you think I will sign a document that says this was mutual and that I waive everything." Miles' eyes hardened. "Are you threatening us?" "No," I said. "I am leaving with dignity. Threats are for people without leverage." Ben scoffed. "We will be fine. I have handled operations before." "Where?" I asked. Ben opened his mouth, then closed it. Miles stood. "Security will escort you out." I nodded. "Fine." As I walked out, I saw the receptionist watching with wide eyes. I saw two managers in the hallway pretending not to see me. Then I saw Carla at the stairwell, waiting like she had been there on purpose. "They fired you," she whispered. "Yes," I said. Carla jaw tightened. "Unbelievable." Owen appeared behind her, face grim. "They really think Ben can do what you do." Maya joined, phone already recording audio on her screen without making a spectacle of it. "Ava," Maya said, "tell me what you need." I smiled, small and tired. "Nothing illegal, nothing dramatic. Just two things," I said. "First, you all keep doing your jobs. Do not panic. Second, when they come to you with questions about how I did everything, you answer with the truth." "The truth?" Owen repeated. "Yes," I said. "They did not fire a job title. They fired the person who knew where the work lived. And within days, they would realize the workload had not disappeared." It had just lost its owner. I packed my desk in 10 minutes. A notebook, a spare badge clip, a framed photo of my sister and me at her graduation, the emergency checklist I had written by hand when Stellan Ridge was still tripping over itself daily. Carla walked beside me to the elevator. "They are already asking questions," she murmured. "Ben is in the warehouse right now acting like a tour guide." I said nothing. I could feel the old instinct to rescue everyone. That instinct is how companies get free labor from good people. Maya texted me as soon as I hit the lobby. He asked me where the forecasting dashboard pulls from. I told him to check the documentation. "Good," I replied. There was documentation. Plenty. I was not a villain. I believed in making systems teachable. What I did not document was the instinct, the judgment calls, the small daily choices that kept the whole thing from seizing up. Nobody writes that part down because you do not notice it until it is gone. By noon, my phone had 7 missed calls from unknown numbers and 1 text from Owen. "They are drowning." At 2 p.m., Carla called. "Ava," she said, "try not to laugh. Ben just scheduled a meeting called Operations Reset." I laughed anyway. "A reset implies you understand what is set." Carla continued. "He asked the shipping team to reroute all outbound loads manually because he did not trust the system." My stomach tightened. That would create a pileup. "We tried to tell him," Carla said. "He said, 'Trust me.'" I exhaled. Of course he did. At 3:30 p.m., Maya sent another message. "Miles asked me if you still have access to the dashboards." I said I do not know. "Do not answer anything beyond your role," I typed back. At 4:10 p.m., Owen called. "Ava," he said, "your weekly procurement automation did not run. No one knows how to trigger it. Purchasing is already screaming." "It was supposed to run automatically," I said. "It did," Owen replied. "But it kicked out an exception because Ben approved a vendor change without updating the vendor table. Now the whole thing is frozen." I closed my eyes. "How bad?" I asked. "If it does not get fixed by morning, we miss raw materials on 2 production lines," Owen said. "And the Tennessee site is already behind." I heard exhaustion in his voice. Not anger at me, anger at the stupidity of what was happening. "Tell them to revert the vendor change," I said. "Restore the previous vendor ID, rerun the workflow, then document the correct steps." Owen went quiet. "Ava, do not. You are off the clock. You do not work here." He was right. I forced myself to breathe. Then I said, "You are right. I cannot run their operation from outside the building. I can only tell you this. They will try to make you do my work without my pay. Do not accept that." Owen sighed. "We know you should have gotten the role." I smiled, though he could not see it. "Thank you." At 6:05 p.m., Miles Hart emailed me from his personal account. "Ava, we are experiencing some transitional friction. Can we talk? We value your contribution. There may be a path forward." Transitional friction. That was corporate language for "we lit the building on fire and hoped you would bring water." I did not respond. At 8:20 p.m., Ben Caldwell messaged me on a professional network. "Hey Ava, can you hop on a quick call? I just need a few pointers." I stared at it. The audacity was almost artistic. I replied with one sentence. "You were hired to lead." Lead. Then I turned my phone face down and went to bed. I slept like someone who finally stopped holding up a roof. And the next morning, the roof started creaking loudly enough for even Miles' Hart to hear. Day 2 without me, the company did not collapse. It stumbled. Which is worse, because stumbling looks survivable. Leadership convinces itself the pain is temporary. Then the tiny failures stack until they become a cliff. At 9:15 a.m., Maya called. "Ava," she said, "Miles is asking everyone what you did all day." I laughed once. "Tell him you watched 6 facilities, 3 carrier partners, and a defect rate trend line at the same time." Maya did not laugh. "He thinks you were just making dashboards." Of course he does, I said. At noon, Carla texted me a photo from the warehouse. A whiteboard covered in panicked bullet points. Top line, find Ava files. Underneath, how does the nightly reconciliation work? I stared at it and felt something sharp, not joy, not rage, but clarity. They were not missing me. They were missing the fact that I did the work of multiple people because no one else would. At 2:40 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown. I answered. Ava Reed, I said. This is Jonah Kell, Stellan Ridge, CFO, the voice said, strained. We need to speak with you. I waited. We are having operational disruptions, he continued. Ben is still learning. Miles wants to know if you would consider returning, at least short term. I said. I was fired. Jonah swallowed audibly. Yes. So you want the person you fired to come back and fix the mess created by the person you hired. Silence. Jonah tried again. You were publicly recognized. We did not intend disrespect. You toasted me and fired me the next morning, I said. That is not disrespect, that is theater. Jonah sighed. What would it take? I kept my tone calm. Not revenge, not spite, just reality. First, the role. Director of Operations. Not reporting to Ben. Jonah said nothing. Second, pay aligned with the scope. I carried procurement automation, logistics exceptions, production schedule reconciliation, and the weekly executive reporting cadence. That is not one job. That is four. Jonah exhaled. Understood. Third, a written acknowledgement internally that I should have been promoted, and that my termination was a mistake. Jonah hesitated. Miles will not like that. Miles should have thought about what he liked before firing the person keeping his systems alive, I said. Jonah was quiet for a moment. Ava, clients are noticing. The Westbridge contract team asked why our on-time performance dropped in 48 hours. I said, because you replaced a functioning operator with a friendly face in a suit. Jonah lowered his voice. They are asking me if we have lost control. You have, I said. And you will keep losing it until you stop pretending Ben is qualified. Jonah cleared his throat. Can you meet today? I said, no. If I return, it will be under signed terms. Send me an offer in writing. At 4:30 p.m., Maya texted, Ben just asked if the warehouse is connected to the ERP. I stared at the message, then typed back, do not answer. Forward him to IT. 5 minutes later, Carla sent another text. Miles is pacing. He is snapping at everyone. He keeps saying you made this too complicated. I replied, tell him complexity already existed. I just managed it. At 7:10 p.m., an email arrived from Jonah. Subject: Return proposal. It offered me a senior manager title under Ben. A small raise. A promise to revisit later. I did not reply. Instead, I opened my resume and updated one line. Stabilized multi-facility operations. Rebuilt end-to-end logistics and procurement workflows. Increased on-time delivery by 19%. Reduced stockouts by 31%. Restored profitability. Then, I went to bed. Because the real revenge was not making them suffer. It was letting them feel the true cost of what they took for granted. On day 3, Miles Hart finally called me himself. His voice was different from the ballroom. No champagne confidence, no camera smile. Ava, he said, we need you back. Need is a strong word, I said. He ignored that. This transition is not going smoothly. People are overwhelmed. You fired me, Miles, I said. That was your decision. Miles sighed as if I was being unreasonable. Ben is still ramping up. Ramping up, I repeated. Miles, Ben does not know what the work is. That is unfair, Miles snapped. Is it? I asked. Ask him to explain the reconciliation logic behind the nightly inventory normalization. Ask him why the carrier exception rules differ by region. Ask him where the procurement automation pulls the vendor table, and what happens when someone changes a vendor ID without updating the mapping. Silence. Then Miles said, "Okay, what do you want?" I did not raise my voice. I did not gloat. "I want what I earned," I said. Miles tried to bargain. "Come back for 30 days and we will reassess." "No," I said. "I will not be your emergency patch." He exhaled sharply. "Ava, do not be difficult." I smiled. "Miles, I was humble. I was calm. I was productive. None of that protected me from being fired right after you praised me. So now I will be specific. I listed terms: Director of Operations, a salary that matches the scope, a clause that prevents replacing me without a 90-day transition period, a written internal memo stating my termination was a mistake. Ben reassigned away from operations leadership. Miles' voice went hard. "I cannot demote Ben." "Then you cannot afford me," I said. He tried another angle. "Your coworkers are stressed. Do it for them." "My coworkers are stressed because you made a reckless choice," I replied. "Do not use their stress as a leash." Miles went quiet. Then, almost smaller, he said, "They are all saying you should have gotten the role." I felt that land. Not satisfaction. Something steadier. Validation. I said, "They are right." At 2:15 p.m., Jonah emailed again. Subject: Updated offer. They had moved. Not enough. It gave me a director title, but still placed me under Ben. It offered better pay, but still treated the memo as optional. I replied with one sentence: "You cannot fix a leadership mistake by keeping the mistake in charge." At 5:40 p.m., Maya called, voice low. "Ava," she said. "Miles just yelled at Carla for the shipment delays." Carla told him he fired the person who ran the system. He slammed his door. I exhaled. "Carla will be fine." Maya hesitated. "Are you?" "Yes," I said, "because I finally stopped carrying everyone." That night, I got a call from a recruiter, Lila Nguyen, from a firm called Meridian Sable Logistics. She said she heard I stabilized a multi-facility operation under pressure. "People talk," I said. "They do," Lila replied, "especially when a company unplugs its own brain." I scheduled the interview. On day 5, Stellan Ridge sent a new email. "Ben Caldwell is transitioning to a strategic initiatives role effective immediately." I laughed out loud. 1 hour later, Jonah called again. "Ava," he said, "we removed Ben from operations. Miles is ready to send the internal memo. Please. Please." That word is rare in executive mouths. I said, "Send the final offer in writing. Director title. Reporting to the CFO and CEO directly. Salary as discussed. And I want the memo sent before I walk through the door." 2 hours later, it arrived. And this time, I did not accept. Because my revenge plotline was not returning to prove I was right. My revenge was leaving and building a life where I did not have to keep proving it. I sent Jonah a polite message. "Thank you. I am declining. I have accepted a new position with a company that promotes competence instead of childhood friendships." Then I messaged Carla, Owen, and Maya. "You were right. Keep your receipts, and do not let them make you do 3 jobs for 1 paycheck." Carla replied first. "Proud of you." Owen replied next. "They finally learned what you do." Maya replied last. "You stayed humble, and still won." And that was the ending. Not a dramatic explosion. Just a quiet exit that left a company begging, a friend hire exposed, and a team finally understanding that the person who should have been promoted did not need the title to prove it. She just needed to walk away.